Changing the Game in Appalachia, a bottom-up approach to an issue dominated by top-down politics. This project is presented by myself, Gillian Rossi, and my fellow MEM graduate student, Lindsey for our 615 final project. Next slide, please. Lindsey and I were interested in doing a climate change vulnerability assessment in Appalachia for several reasons. One of those reasons was what you're seeing here, mountaintop removal, which is taking place today in West Virginia, as well as hydraulic fracturing or fracking. But this is not the issue we are going to address in this presentation. Next slide. It's this one. Next slide. And this one. Next slide. And all of these. As we were doing our research, we found that there are several science-based climate change vulnerability assessments for West Virginia already composed by organizations such as the Nature Conservancy, the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources. But there's a huge lack of connection between the youth in West Virginia and what's really happening with climate change in their state. So Lindsey, at the second half of this presentation, is going to go over our proposal. And I'm going to discuss some studies that we found and some projects that are already in place that are helping to address the issue of lack of education in Appalachia about their changing environment. Next slide. We found that what's needed in Appalachia to accomplish this is a bottom-up approach to climate change education that puts the focus on families, community, heritage, economic stability, and a sustainable future. Appalachia is one of the poorest places in the country. Their education system hasn't allowed talk of climate change in schools unless it's approached as a controversy, and it's said that it's not man-made. So there's some huge gaps that need to be filled in Appalachia to begin addressing climate change, and we think it needs to start in kindergarten and from people that live in those communities. Next slide. So beyond the environmental degradation that's happening due to coal mining and other forms of energy development in Appalachia, Appalachia is also has the second highest obesity rate in the country. So the purple states that you see on the left are the highest obesity rate. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, Arkansas is number one as of last year. Arkansas is where I live. On the right is a depiction of the state showing the poverty rate, children living in poverty in West Virginia, which is lower today than I have that backwards. There are more children living in poverty today than there were in 1969. So there's more children living in poverty than adults living in poverty. That is an issue because children are the future. Next slide, please. So the coal mining and the strip mining and the fracking in West Virginia are taking a toll on the environment. The Appalachians are one of the oldest mountain chains in the world. They have ecosystems that are thriving right now in the northeastern part of the state. Appalachia runs through the center of the state, and this is where a lot of the mountaintop removal is taking place. So mountaintop removal has become more acceptable to certain people because it's labeled as clean coal. The companies don't need to drill as far into the ground because they're going to the top of the mountain and drilling into the coal seam, which helps them get the coal faster and release less carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, what you're seeing here is what they leave behind. So they leave behind mountains with the tops cut off, creating islands, habitat islands, acid mine drainage. So this is where the sulfuric acid left over from the drilling leaks into local creeks, lakes, and rivers. And annually, the U.S. emits about 47 million tons of methane a year, and 74% of that is from coal mining, from this clean coal that is said to be being emitted. Next slide, please. Lindsey and I looked at current efforts that different organizations and projects are working toward to mitigate and adapt to climate change in Appalachia, and these are education efforts as well. And the first one we found was AMD and ART. That stands for Acid Mine Drainage and ART. This is an organization based in Pennsylvania that goes into coal country and works with local communities to restore areas that have been degraded by acid mine drainage. So they do creek restorations and river cleanups. And then they do something really special that I think would be totally relevant for West Virginia because they are very proud of their heritage. They install art pieces that honor the history and honor the past of these areas. So instead of taking a negative approach and sort of wagging their finger at the folks who caused, the Nature Conservancy also has a decent presence in West Virginia. They've done a lot to establish funds that preserve areas that haven't been touched by coal mining yet, although most of their stations and preserves are set up in the northeastern part of the state and the southern part of the state. There are no Nature Conservancy refuge or areas that we found in West Virginia, in central West Virginia, so running through Appalachia. So there are no mountains preserved currently in central West Virginia, which is the hot spot for coal mining. Mothers Out Front and Our Children's Trust are two organizations that involve concerned parents working to mitigate climate change emission regulations in order to protect their children's future. Again, these are not located in West Virginia. They're elsewhere. I think one of them was in Delaware. So these are organizations that are bottom-up approaches that we feel should definitely be introduced into Appalachia. Let's move. This is the campaign started by Michelle Obama to help mitigate childhood obesity. And this is a great approach. It's very positive, and it doesn't just address parents. It addresses everyone that's involved in a child's life. So chefs at the children's school, school boards, healthcare providers, other people that are involved in a child's life, not just the parents. So again, it's a positive collaborative effort that we feel is something that we'd like to model our project after. And finally, the Appalachian Coal County Team, and this is, or the ACCT. This is an AmeriCorps Vista program that Krista is working with right now in Appalachia, and this aims to bring people from Appalachia to work to restore areas that have been degraded by coal mining. And even though they recruit from Appalachia, the places they go are still very skeptical of others coming into their town and telling them what's best for their community. So, I mean, go back 70 years, that's what happened when the coal mining industries came into these towns and told the people what was best for their community. So you can see how the degree of skepticism has sort of translated over the centuries. So our approach is definitely going to work from the very bottom up, and we're working to have it all local and not have any outsiders involved. We think that's going to be best for the specific region that we're focusing on. Next slide, please.
Who's gonna make a difference? We are. So this guy right here is a Sawyet owl, a vulnerable species of West Virginia. And in his inquisitive, bright eyes, we believe there is a symbol for the type of work that's going to be needed to make a positive impact on West Virginia. And that's wisdom. It's going to take the knowledge, the local inherent knowledge of the land, of the people, and of the community to really make an impact. How are we going to make an impact? Let's look deep into that. West Virginia's Class of 2030 Scholarship Fund, an adaptation via education strategy, aka Adopt a Class. What is Adopt a Class? Well, Adopt a Class is a comprehensive program focused on getting environmental education into not only the schools, but into the families, into the communities, and into the hearts and minds of the people of West Virginia. We've got to win them over. So, how do we do that? Well, we're going to take on West Virginia's Class of 2030. All West Virginian children entering kindergarten in 2017. Goals of this education component are improve access to quality environmental education, expose youth and parents to alternative sustainable career tracks. Gone is the notion of jobs versus the environment. Gone is the notion of not being able to teach children about the environment in the classroom because of what a big coal company might say. We've got to get around these barriers. Here's how. and here's who. For enrollment in this program, students must be residents of West Virginia when they apply and when they receive the scholarship. What is the scholarship? Scholarship to college, to any university of your choice, whether it's in West Virginia or not. Students must be U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens. They must be enrolled in kindergarten and or elementary school and fulfill the West Virginian Class of 2030 pledge. So with the Adopt Class, students from kindergarten until graduation, high school graduation, will be educated on the environment and their role in the environment and what sort of jobs they can get upon maturation to help make West Virginia the West Virginia that their grandparents remember. Adaptation and mitigation strategies. This program is going to employ the spirit of the coal miner, the man that goes deep into the earth to extract minerals in order to make a future for their families, to keep the lights on. It is this spirit that we will employ. Instead of fighting the coal miner, we will work with the coal miner. Adaptation and mitigation, the coal companies will be the financial backers of this scholarship fund. And with that, they will have an inverse relationship between the amount of emissions they produce and the amount of money that they must pay into the scholarship fund. The more emissions you emit, the more kids you have to send to college. Family, heritage, and community connections are the only way that this program can work. You can't be a hippie in this state. No tree huggers welcome. Okay, we get the message. The programming and the large part of this proposal goes down to the branding and marketing. It's got to be seen as something that came from West Virginia, not to West Virginia. So we will focus on family, on educating students about their West Virginian heritage, their community, and their connections, which is why our strategic partnerships with the Children's Trust and Mothers Out Front will be so necessary, for the curriculum will be coming from the communities, from the mothers, and from the families, not from outside experts teaching kids about things that people are uncomfortable about, but rather teaching children about their history, things that people are comfortable with, and also adding to these components of important environmental stewardship and the ways that children can react with nature to not only advance themselves, but also learn to reclaim and recreate the spaces that are around them. The Scholars Pledge. Every student must take the Scholars Pledge in order to receive the scholarship. In order to do the Scholars Pledge, they must complete the Scholar Success Program, graduate from a state-accredited high school with at least a 2.5 GPA, not use illegal drugs, commit a crime or delinquent act, file their FAFSA, apply to an eligible college as a high school senior and enroll as a full-time student within 1 year of high school graduation, maintain satisfactory academic progress, and complete 30 credit hours each year you're in college to stay on track towards earning your degree on time. Now, the budget. With the $76 million over a 13-year period, 72% of the budget will rely specifically on the scholarship fund. Another 3% owed to curriculum development. Also, the largest portion outside of the scholarship fund will come to branding and marketing so that this program is successfully sold to the people of West Virginia and successfully seen as a program that focuses on family and heritage to educate children, and not an outside campaign brought about by northern or southern or eastern tree huggers. This program is a program based on West Virginia, taking the knowledge inherent in West Virginia and expanding that, giving that to children, and so that when they're ready to graduate high school, they can get a college degree, come back and get a job in West Virginia, making things better, so that we know by the year 2030, there will be a class of children in West Virginia ready to tackle the environmental issues of West Virginia. We thank you for your participation in listening to this proposal, and we hope you have a wonderful afternoon.